Let's see if you're live. Close that. Is this happening? Okay, all my live shows start with this awkward checking of mic and everything. Even if I have done that before going live, it's still like such a thing. All right, welcome. My name is Monica Vegalam, and I'm an executive coach, and today we are talking about how to make an impossible job or relationship work. But before that, I need to close this particular distraction. If you're watching this live and were here for the live part, sorry about the delay. We are having mic issues. It's all fixed now, hopefully. If you are watching this and you can't hear anything, please tell me in the comments. All right, a quick, what are we going to talk about today? A quick update about what this show is going to be like, because I've been doing live shows since some time now. I've stopped in between, I started again. So there's something like emerging for me, and I'm creating here. I want to talk about that. And then we'll go into how to kind of think about if you are in like a job or a relationship where you're like, I just want to leave and things are not working. It's like it's highly impossible. People are like really impossible to work with, and etc etc. How to and there's a part of you that's like, but I'm still holding on. Something in me is still like here, and I'm still thinking about what else I can do. Then this is the place for you. Or if you are leading someone, whether in the capacity of the manager, or if it is a family member or a community member, that's if that's happening to them as well, we'll talk about how to lead them so that they kind of make a more free choice. And I'll talk about what free means here. So, yeah, about the show. So, one of the things that's been up for me is this phrase of creating leaders. And I've been doing some workshops and multiple things in that direction. And the what I am noticing is that I want to be working with leaders who want to create more leaders as opposed to followers. I know this can be like a total platitude. You can just be like create more leaders, not followers. But I'm there's really some substance to this, in the sense that how we by default operate, or how there are many styles of leadership, but how we default operate is that a leader has a vision. They set the direction, and other people kind of follow them. And like, even if we want to have it go differently, that's what ends up happening because of the way we are brought up. We have, I think, the last many generations have been such that there was kind of like an authoritative leadership, whether that's at workplace, parenting, families, whatever that could look like. So creating a follower out of someone is kind of rewarded, and it's the easier path. But developing someone as a leader themselves, so they can find their own path and they can find their own unique version of leadership, is I think it requires something. It requires personal transformation, letting go of like a lot of things, lot of ways of being that we default to, and sitting with a lot of discomfort. So that's what this is about. And I'm also thinking about how do we make that work on social media. I don't know yet. We'll see. But anyway, this live show, there is going to be a section about creating leaders as well for each topic. Like, how do you create leadership in someone when this is the situation? And today, at the end of this show, we'll talk about if how to create leadership in a person who find themselves in an impossible job or relationship. So when you are in so why should you even consider why should you even consider like a different way of thinking, or even like entertain a possibility that when things are impossible to work with, why should you even entertain the possibility that maybe there's something else here? Maybe I can stay, or maybe I can leave with a little more freedom. So one of the things that I observe in the Western culture is that and this is like a stereotype, not everyone does this obviously, but majority of people, if something is not working, they leave. And as opposed to in the East, like in countries like India or other parts of Asia, the family community mindset is pretty strong. So even if they want to, even if like things are really bad, we kind of like tend to stay together, stay in relationships, jobs, even in like the disempowered state. I i believe there's whether you stay in a job or a relationship or whether you leave, there is a sense of obligation that can come, or guilt or regret that can come based on no matter what decision you make. So why even entertain the possibility that this relationship or job could even work? It's because a lot of our being, so to speak, like the way we speak, the way we be in relationship with other people, the parts of us that come alive in a certain group dynamics, they are pretty like programmed, and they are based on like old survival strategies. And what happens is like, if you leave a job, you will create like same kind of baggage whatever you're facing now in the next job, and then in the next job, in the next job. Same with relationships, right? If you leave a relationship, whether that's like a romantic relationship or like a business partnership or a close family relationship, you start to create the same patterns again and again and again. And the reason you might want to consider a different possibility rather than just leaving, or just like putting your foot down and saying I will suffer but stay in this relationship, is that you get freedom from these patterns. You'll start to like enjoy whatever it is that you surround yourself with, like whatever relationship or work life you surround yourself with. If you're watching this, say hi just to kind of make sure everything is working. Um, yeah, okay, let's see. Where did I leave? One caveat about abusive situations. If you're in an abusive workplace or a relationship, there's just like, I mean, flat out, just leave, right? And there are people who don't and who just stay. And there's a story like kind of running for them, or fear running, which kind of makes them, um, uh, feel like there's no other option. There's always an option. You can just leave, build your life, do that. But this conversation is not about that. A lot of times when people say, oh, this workplace is toxic or my boss is toxic, it's not. Like, um, it's probably that there is an opportunity to kind of build your capacity to take whatever control, manipulation, or anger, or whatever the boss or people around you represent, and then like lead the way. There is kind of always an opportunity like that. Maybe not in all situations, but the conversations that I have come across where people are like, this is very toxic, when I really look into it, it turns out it's not. So so the reason I'm telling you that is, if you are in like a situation where you're really not enjoying, where things are like, it's this is like really bad, I don't want to be here, or I don't want to be seen as blah blah blah, or I don't want to like I don't want to even consider anything else, this conversation is for you. Okay, so when you are in this impossible job or impossible relationship, this is how it occurs. It occurs as something is wrong here, as in, this is not how it's supposed to be. Life is not supposed to work this way, and I am not supposed to behave this way, or they should not be doing this. They are wrong, or I am wrong. Like it occurs in this way, either subtly or very intensely. um, there's almost like an intensity or significance, or a certain significance to it, maybe even not intensity. So for example, if you are, let's say, getting triggered again and again in your job, and you're like, screw this, I those people should be behaving a different way, and I might find a better culture or better workplace somewhere else. There is some truth in that, one, but also it might be worth looking at how you are showing up such that that is being created for you, and how your almost the focus is always on like what is wrong with them, with me, with like how the situation is. And a lot of like brilliant, smart, heady people are very like they kind of think in rights and wrongs. So when that is there for you, when that's how the situation is occurring to you, there is a different possibility, even if it seems like so impossible. I have been in situations like this, and things have changed so much when I have examined my own beliefs and my own worldview. So that's the thing at play here: your worldview, your frame of thinking, your frame of reference. So there is like a document I'm going to read. This is by Werner Erhard. And when you have this feeling that something is wrong here, with them, with me, with how situation is, um, there is a worldview at play. Worldview is how you kind of it's like your filter, not just filter, it's just like how you listen, how you assume things, and how you like your mental models. So here it says, one's worldview can be compared to a wall of bricks on which one sits like Humpty Dumpty to view and interact with life, the world, others, and oneself. Each brick in your wall of bricks is something you have come to believe or assume about some aspect of life, the world, others, or yourself. These beliefs and assumptions include unexamined ideas, biases, prejudices, social and cultural beliefs, and taken for granted assumptions. For example, if you might have a belief that in order to make money, one has to work hard, and that occurs as like the ultimate truth. And if I come to you and say, hey, you don't need to work hard to make money, there are lots of people who don't work really hard, yet they make a lot of money, What happens is like, okay, maybe, and they might be lucky, or they might have inherited a lot of money from their parents, or like you will have a way to justify, explain, and reason from that belief. So what happens is, when you have that belief that in order to make money you have to work hard, you will kind of go look out in the world for that belief to be true. So you will join teams or companies where hard work is rewarded with more money. You will kind of partner with people who are hardworking. Like if you hire, you would hire only hardworking people, or who are kind of aligned to that belief. Or the opposite can also happen. You will come across someone who you'll be absolutely fascinated by, who carries the opposite belief. Like you'll see them, like they don't work really hard, but yet they make money. And then you will go to them like, hey master, teach me the other way. Because my whole life I have been working hard, but you seem to have transcended that. Now can you please kind of teach me, I want to learn. That's also coming from the same belief. Because if you don't carry this at all, like there is no equation in your mental model about hard work and money, like having any sort of proportional, or in any kind of relationship between those two, that person wouldn't even catch your attention. So that's how it works. You go look out for things that are aligned to your belief or opposite of your belief. And that's how you build like this. As we are growing up, we build like this wall of bricks. And how does this work in relationships? Um, Somewhere you believe that relationships are supposed to look a certain way, like in romantic movies, let's say. Or you have an example or a role model of your parents being in relationship, very practical, very like functional. And you say that relationships have to work at practical and certain different levels. And you'll have an equation about that, what that relationship looks like. And that will determine who you date, who you get into relationship with, who you get into business partnership with, and everything like that. So um so what we do is like we build this wall of bricks, and each brick is a belief that we have about a certain thing, about how a world looks like. Then we have frames of reference within that wall of beliefs, wall of bricks. um, Another way of saying frame of reference is frame of thinking. But thinking is just a certain part of it. There is also listening, there's also like assumptions, there's also um, uh, the reactions you have, automatic reactions you have. So that's all in the frame of reference. And these frames of reference, I'll read a little bit about this. So, your in this analogy, your worldview is represented by your entire wall of bricks. Your frame of reference relative to something, your frame of reference relative to something specific in your world, like for example, relative to leader or leadership, can be seen as a group of bricks within your wall of bricks. So each brick kind of makes sense within the group of bricks. Now, for example, some people have a frame of reference that they are an introvert. So none of this means that it's true or not true, but it's actually like still a frame of reference. When somebody comes to me and says they're an introvert, I can like totally see all the ways they are not an introvert. But for them it's not visible at all. People will like argue with me saying that no, 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 I can't do that because I don't like being in groups of people. I can't go to a networking event because I hate networking because it makes me very uncomfortable. Because, and that's the way I am, I guess. So that's kind of like a frame of reference talking, right? And some people are like, I am really, I have a lot of fear, and I'm kind of a very timid and this kind of a person who doesn't take bold risks. And then for everything that they say, I can definitely, like, if we really look, there are places where they're not that, and they are something much more, something different. But the way they operate in the world is that, oh, I guess I'm an introvert, I guess I am not very brilliant, I guess I'm not a public person, I guess I can never do that. So there's a frame of reference going on there. And sometimes the frame of reference is like, I'm not good enough. Sometimes it's like, I am better than others. And true story, by the way, of introversion, and of like, other people need to do something else, they should, that's a way of thinking, and it's like a real filter. So when you have this worldview and these frames of reference about different things, like how collaboration should be, how feedback should be, how I should not have self doubt, whenever there is a word should or something is wrong, there is a frame of reference operating. And when you come across like new information, let's say you read a book and there's something new that you get out of it, and then what that piece of information is, you take a brick. So that piece of information is like a brick, and you try to fit it into the existing wall of bricks that you have. And if it doesn't fit, you discard it. So that's like an analogy, right? Let's try to see how it works. In the earlier example I gave, when I say, hey, hard work, in order to make money, you have to work hard, you need to put these many hours. If I tell them that, well, I know this person who is not doing that, that's a piece of like new information, right? And this person would completely like discard it. That's not possible. I think you are mistaken. Number one, like there's a certain conclusions you would make to keep that belief. You are either mistaken or that person is lucky. Like you can like completely reject out of hand, or you can say, yeah, that may be possible for other people but not me. That's another way of rejecting things out of the hand. Yes, I know that author who just wrote a book and is earning millions, and he doesn't have to work another day in life, but that's not possible for me. Where I am in my life, how I am, it's just I don't see it happening. So what you're saying is fine, but I guess that's not the case here. So that's how like you encounter new information. I do. And sometimes it appears, the new information appears as nonsense, like I don't get it, or sometimes it appears as it doesn't apply to me. And sometimes it's like, there's also a sense of acceptance. And this is why I have a certain hesitation with the leadership principle, disagree and commit. This is a famous leadership principle at Amazon, which is like, if a leader says something or somebody in the team says something, even if you disagree, you can argue whatever, but you once you commit, you are going to take action on it. The thing with that is, it sounds nice and it's great even in practice to keep a team together. But what is happening is the person who disagrees but commits has like a disempowered experience because they stay in the disagreement even after committing. And that disagreement kind of accumulates, and then a few years later they go into full resentment, and they're like, Amazon is a really bad place to work at, and they build this whole story about Amazon and any other workplace that looks like that, and then they operate in the world to avoid all places like Amazon. It's not probably not a problem for Amazon, but this person's life becomes much smaller. And when you talk to them, you can kind of see that they have kind of limit. They have walls now around what kind of work is good, what kind of work is bad. So they might say, so the final way is like they might say, while I don't really understand, I accept it fine, and I'll just like white knuckle my way through it and suffer through the whole thing. So there's no freedom in this. Like there's a way you're clutching onto this brick of walls and operating in the world in a small finite way. And all of us humans are like this. It's an essential part of survival in the world, because if we don't have that, we wouldn't even know how to operate in the world when there are so many different things going on. This kind of brings a certainty and safety to us, this whole wall of bricks. It becomes a problem when you want something different and this is in the way of that. So, for example, there's this impossible job and relationship, like in our conversation today, and you are like, there's a part of you that's like, I want to make this work. For example, uh, I have built a really nice family, but I don't want to leave my spouse. I want to make this work. Or, hey, this job is great, the pay is great, the people are great, except some maybe the work is great, but I'm just not feeling it. And at the same time, there's a part of me that still kind of sees certain, like a sliver of hope here. That's when we would want to see what's the worldview and frame of reference you're coming to that particular situation from. All right, so how do we shift this worldview? I hope the worldview part is clear. If you have any questions or anything that's kind of not connecting for you in this conversation, please send me a message here, or even like if you're watching this later, send me a message, and we'll see if we can answer that for you. So, how do we kind of come out of this particular worldview and see something different? First of all, it's very, very hard, especially when you're convinced that. One second, sorry. Okay, there we are. Um, when we are convinced that this is not working, it's really hard. Like I do not want to step over that. It's really hard to see anything different. You will have like a book of reasons why not, and you will have like all the justifications of the world why this situation is impossible and why whatever you're thinking is the right thing. So let's put that on the table. And I have been in those situations, and I was like so convinced there's no way this is going to work. What the hell? No matter who I talk to, it's not going to change. Like whatever advice I take, or whichever mentor I talk to, friends I talk to, whoever, I have my reasons. The thing that started like opening up stuff for me is when I saw that however I'm feeling in this particular situation, there are kind of signs of that in a different situation, like in a different work situation and in a different relationship. There are small signs that, oh, I'm feeling the same way that I was feeling there. What's that about? That's when it started to shift. I talked to a lot of managers and leaders, and after some time in the conversation, I asked them, is this familiar? Have your previous jobs gone like this? Do you see a pattern? And the answer is almost always yes, because how we are in one place is how we are elsewhere. And whatever impossible situation you are in is an opportunity, in fact, to let, to like kind of change your worldview or change your way of operating in the world. Otherwise that will stay the same all the time. So that's what transformation is. Transformation is kind of like almost destroying this wall of bricks that you have built in your life, and then rebuilding that, a new wall of bricks, brick by brick, so that more is possible for you. You can come across this situation again in your life, and you will operate in a different way. So a very simple way to understand this is, like, if you're a conflict avoidant person, you keep creating relationships where you end up with so much resentment and fear about the other person, because you are not speaking what you need, and you're avoiding those hard conversations. If you leave a relationship after a certain period of time of resentment, you will create that again in the next relationship. You'll create that in your job, you will create that in your friendships. And the way to kind of shift is to really examine what's going on, like what's the wall of bricks I have built, and then start disassembling that one by one, piece by piece. You have to destroy it. And the best way to do this is to work with a coach. Now I understand, like, for a lot of people that's not available, so this conversation is not about um, go work with a coach and come work with me. Yes, that is there, but still I want to kind of give you practices, so even if coaching is not available to you, so you can start to look at this. The first thing you want to do is to kind of like, this worldview that you have, which appears very solid, you want to bring it into your awareness. For that, you want to list down all the beliefs you have about this particular situation. So you want to list down what is wrong here, what is wrong with me, what is wrong with them. Like for example, uh, I don't like how this person always, like how my boss always tries to give me all this extra work. He emailed me yesterday, and he gave me like 10 things to do, even if I have all this other stuff, and he doesn't care about me. So you want to kind of write down all the things that are wrong, and that will show you the beliefs that you have. And then once you have all the beliefs, lot of coaches kind of stop here, saying that, hey, you have a limiting belief, let's reframe the situation and have you practice a new belief. It doesn't work, because it will stay within the frame of reference that you already carry. If you put a new belief, it will be a new brick or the new piece of information within the same wall of bricks that you already have. So there's more work. So list all of your belief, and for each belief you want to see what's the action that you take from that belief. So for example, if you have a belief that feedback leaders eat feedback for breakfast, they take a lot of feedback and they operate on feedback, that's a belief. And we are not checking for whether that's true or whether that's not true. That's not the conversation here. You want to see how that's limiting you. So once you kind of identify this relationship that you have with feedback, you will see how you act out of that. Okay, so if I believe leaders eat feedback from breakfast, then like I really believe that feedback is good and useful for people. So then I might be giving feedback in my relationships, to my spouse, to my friends, because feedback is good, right? And then I might be giving feedback whenever I see somebody is struggling. and I give feedback to my boss when he sends out a pulse about all the things that he could do better. So like those are the kind of actions you take, right? And there are contexts when these actions can give you can like actually work against you. So when you give feedback to your spouse because feedback is good, what happens, your spouse kind of like um, there's a slight disconnection that gets created with you and your spouse. They come to you explaining or talking about some problem they are facing, and you give them feedback that, hey, probably you should consider this or do this, or whenever I kind of encounter this situation, that's what I did, and you always tend to shy away from these kinds of situations, so do this. What what the what your spouse might be wanting is like connection, but when you give feedback at that point of time, it creates a distance. So you create a world around you where other people kind of stay at arm's length, like, I don't want to like kind of talk to this person because every time I'll have to confront something about myself whenever I'm in conversation with them. So that's the world you create, where you are kind of like a little slightly better and elevated than other people because you know what to do in any situation, and other people are kind of like a little bit less than you. And that that doesn't make for very good relationships. So when you figure that out, you want to see how that is true everywhere else in your life. And a lot of people kind of stop here, stop at, oh my god, great insight, what an awareness, I didn't know I was doing this. That doesn't do anything. So, yes, it is important, like it is important to create that awareness, like bring this wall of bricks to kind of see, oh, this is what's happening. But that you have to eventually start to disassemble the wall of bricks, and the way that happens is to sit with that long term. It happens over months and years, and the best way to kind of do this is observe yourself building or taking on new information or new as a brick to fit into this wall, like in the moment, like catch yourself red handed. That's when your system kind of starts to learn, oh, I'm doing that thing. And then you'll create like a small space, and then you start to then you make a decision about how to operate in the face of this wall of bricks. As you do that more and more, your the configuration kind of changes. Your frame of thinking, frame of reference, frame of listening, all of those start to change. And that is initially scary. It will drive up emotions, it will drive up fear, it will drive up like all your automatic behaviors. Like some people, they yell when they are angry, some people disconnect when they are angry. All of that will happen, and you want to again catch yourself and bring yourself back to your practice. Hopefully this is all making sense. I know this can be a bit like it, abstract, because if you don't have the experience of what this looks like, it is another brick fitting into your wall. Like, let's say you read a lot of self-help books. Okay, so if you are like, yeah, this is making sense, that means you're fitting whatever information I'm providing into that wall of bricks you have built about what awareness practice looks like, what leadership looks like, etc., etc. It's unavoidable. And that is why it's important to do this work in a relationship with someone, like a spiritual teacher, like a coach, or whoever. So let's see. What else is here? Wall of bricks keep growing. And then um, whatever new information I give is a brick. I said that. And then you will kind of see that if there is someone who is kind of challenging your worldview, your system will kind of get fuzzy. Like you will be saying, I don't understand that. That doesn't make sense. Then you will start to ask for examples. And when you ask for examples, then that brick starts, like your mind will figure out, oh, this is this kind of brick and this will fit here. So when you are in the job or relationship, when somebody gives you advice, it is that thing. It's like another brick putting onto the wall. um so so the way to kind of shift out of whatever, let's get to the practice. How do we practice this? One is, I think I have only one practice for you. One is to start small, like start noticing when you have a certain reaction to somebody's worldview. So, for example, somebody comes and says, I'm not expressing political views, but just to kind of make a point, I'm saying this here. Let's say somebody comes and says, Trump's immigration laws are absolutely fantastic for the country. And you will have a reaction to that. You will be like, yeah, I agree, but XYZ. Or you might be like, what are you even saying? That makes no sense at all. So you can kind of, and some people who are really really smart can start to say, oh, that's their belief system, and I don't subscribe to that belief system. I subscribe to something else. So all of that speaks to your worldview. It's not about them at all. So start noticing how you start to reason, justify, or react to how somebody else is showing up. And that's when you'll start noticing your beliefs. Remember, this conversation is not about what is true, what is valid, what is not true, what makes sense at all. This conversation is about bringing awareness to your worldview, the context you're operating in, the vantage point that you have. And as you're trying to like notice that, you will see that you will try to escape that noticing. You will like find a lot of work to do suddenly, or you will be like, oh, I have a house to clean. And true story. I clean my house when I have some awareness practices to do. So start noticing your reaction to different people. The best way to see the intensity, sorry, the best way to first start seeing this is when it's intense. Like if you have a reaction to family members, for example, a lot of people have a lot of trouble with their family members. And when you get angry, or when you are like, when you disconnect, when you are bored in your family, there's a worldview that's operating for you, and you can start to notice that. Then you can start to notice in like subtler situation when you don't have as much reaction. As you start to distinguish that, you will see that there is something operating for you, and that is stopping you from this particular job or relationship to work out. And it's not easy to just come out of this, whatever you distinguish, because what this part of us, there will be several parts of us that are maintaining this worldview. What they want to, what they really want, or what those parts of us crave, is to be heard and to be seen and to be validated in that worldview. What, once those like emotions are processed, and once those um, once they like get existence points, to like when I say existence points, that it's like they are validated for their existence, it's like sunlight shining on something, you'll be able to like your hold will become a little less on this, and then you will have like this slight gap where you can start operating differently. When that happens, that's then it's like going to the gym, like you exercise that muscle within you. So that's kind of the process, and the practice that if you want to take up, and I'll invite you to do, is to start noticing um, the places you get you kind of disconnect, you try to fight. So there are four responses, right? Fight, flight, fawn, freeze. Fight, flight is like going away from the situation. Fawn is when you start to take care of things, take care of other people, and fuss over other people. And then freeze is kind of like do nothing, total inaction. You will have these responses when your worldview is challenged. So start to notice where you subtly display those, or even like intensely display those. There's a worldview at play, and start examining that. That would be the practice. um, Now, if let's say there's a person you're leading, your family member or a report, and they are dead set on leaving the job or leaving the relationship, how do you lead them? The annoying answer is you first do the work. As in, um, it's really impossible to like get that person until you have done the work of shifting out of your worldview. There's a sense of opening that comes up in your being, where you have all the empathy for other people, holding on very tightly to their worldviews. Because if you don't have that opening, how, and you try to operate from your worldview and they try to operate from their worldview, that's when things clash. And that's when these impossible situations and conflicts and everything start like get created. The way of leadership is you go first. You start to examine where your worldview is kind of limiting you. And when you're able to practice out of it, um, you have more space for other people, and you will be the person who can hear, see them, and give existence for that worldview to exist. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is learn to coach frame of reference, or vantage points, instead of the content of the vantage point. So, for example, if somebody comes and talks to you about, hey, I am having a conflict with this colleague, help me, instead of solving the conflict or giving them pointers about what to do in that situation, like a lot of people are kind of give advice like, you should stand up more to microaggressions. You should speak up more. All of that is addressing the content of the frame of reference. So, it's it's fine, it's good, and that's what most leaders do. But the more powerful approach would be to coach the frame of reference around the content. We call this the context, or let me not introduce another phrase, but basically coach the frame of thinking, frame of reference. So like kind of like pointing out to them, or having them realize that this particular way of thinking is creating the situation. So probably this all sounds complicated, but when you do this, you when you give people a way to look at their frame of references, their world shifts, their world changes so much that they will trust you, they will be with you wherever you are, and they will because they know that you are creating leadership in them. You're kind of like supporting them to carve their own path where they feel so free to express their creativity, so free to be however they are in like relationships, work, life, etc. So I highly recommend coaching the frame of reference to create a leader. And for that, I have a few resources for you. One is, come to my monthly workshops. We have a workshop called Creating Leaders workshop, and I post about those. We are doing that monthly. Um, I do this with my colleague Alex Campbell, and we have people like come in, coach each other, and then we give feedback to the person coaching and person receiving support. And we are giving feedback so that their world, the frame of reference shifts, and not just the content of what they're presenting. I think it's like super cool work. People get a lot out of this. And I don't think it's very much available, or it's very common out there what we are doing. I think it's like super potent and powerful. So that's a free resource for you. I would love to see you there if any of this conversation resonated for you. Next one I think is in July, probably like the second Friday of July. I will post about it on LinkedIn, and check it out. Come and join us. So that's the free resource. Second is, if you want, like, I have a PDF about the exercise, about listing down your beliefs and looking at what your frame of reference is. If you want that, send me a DM on LinkedIn, and I will send that to you. So that's the second free resource. Third, if you want to get deeper into this work and actually start shifting your relationship to situations like an impossible job or an impossible work situation, send me a message and let's have a conversation. Let's talk together and see how you can kind of create that freedom for yourself, where you are able to make a choice whether you want to stay in this or whether you want to create a new situation for you without the same pattern repeating again. There's a learning process in that, in terms of learn how to be, and we can create that together for you. And I will leave you with a quote finally. The quote is that if no is not an option, yes is an obligation. So, in any situation, there is a part of you that's a no, and there's a part of you that's like a yes. And almost always, the initially you feel empowered, but based on your patterns, the yes turns into an obligation, the no turns um, into like a wall that people cannot get across. So if you're dealing with the impossible job or relationship, examine your worldview, number one, and examine like where your yes and no is coming from, and work with that. All right, that's all I have, and happy rest of your weekend. It's full blown summer here in Seattle, so I'm going to be enjoying that. Wherever you're in the world, I hope you have a great week ahead, and I will see you again next week.